All right. We are back. Randomly Ronnie Jr. along with Kelly. Kelly, you're a familiar face. I know you.
Hi.
I think
Hello.
can we talk about JLo, Jennifer Lopez? Can we do it?
Oh my gosh. Can I just say that I've always been a fan. Always have respected her hustle and all the hard work that she's done, and obviously like being a Latina and all of that. I think that, she's really pushed. She's shoved, that big booty in your face. She's not going anywhere and she's gotten so much shit for it, but really watching this from her point of view, I was really emotional through the whole thing. Oh my goodness. The first thing I wanted to do was text you and be like, Ronnie, that JLo documentary though. Shit.
The JLo documentary on Netflix. It's called Halftime. Basically, it's a version of, half of her life. She just turned 50 years old. When the aspect of this documentary was out, the halftime Super Bowl show, all the things. And it's interesting. Yeah, I would get a lot of, everyone knows I'm a fan of hers, so I'd get a lot of text messages. But the one that meant the most was through Kelly, because Kelly and I actually have our other show, Difficult Podcasters, which is on hiatus. So technically, we're not really doing a show, but we just felt so compelled to do an episode about this particular documentary. It's very similar to what Netflix did with Beyonce and Coachella. The Coachella was the performance, but then giving you the behind the scenes. So it was very similar to that. And one thing different from me versus you just being like a super fan, I was a little aware of a lot of her stuff because she did have Dance Again, which was a rock doc years ago, and that was following her on a world tour. This was before she was 50 years old. So I kind of learned a lot of it already, Kelly, but the emotional side and the maybe what women or what is perceived of her role, which as bad as that is, as a Latina to stay in your place kind of a deal, what was like the pressures that were on her, they were explained very well in this documentary. So I like Jenny all the time, but this was a big moment for Jenny. It's called Halftime. What was the thing that made you emotional about watching it, or were you more seeing her fortitude? Was that the thing that made you happy about it?
Honestly, I think it was a little bit of all of it. It was just, everything that was going on in the world at the time with the presidency, the immigration, the Me Too movement, just all of it, just, coming together. And I was actually at the Toronto Film Festival when she premiered Hustlers. So I worked on the PR team for the premiere party for that movie, and just like seeing all the hustle and bustle for that stuff and hearing the Oscar buzz about her and all of that. And then years ago, I mean, I've talked about it on our Difficult Podcasters podcast. I met her when we worked in the radio business
In
together,
radio, yeah.
and I was working at Kiss FM, and she did it was either a Wango Tango, I think. It was a Wango Tango in like 2004 or 5 probably, when she was married to Mark Anthony, and that was the first time I had ever met her in person. And she did a rehearsal and just kind of watching. She's always been such a great show person. She's got fantastic stage presence. And I'm a Texan. She was Selena. Like that in itself,
Yeah.
is a huge deal. And she played that part phenomenally. I mean, she was fantastic in that. And I mean, you can hate on her. So many people do. And clearly they show a lot of that in this documentary. And I even read a tweet today that was like, why do so many people hate on Jennifer Lopez? And it's true. Like so many people honestly do. And I felt such a kinship with that because I feel like similar to that sometimes in my career, because I feel like if you fight for things that you want, or if you feel like you deserve to be in a room, people kind of give you shit for it, which is so weird, because it's like, why? Isn't there enough room for all of us here?
Well, I can't explain what it's like to be a female in the industry and those limitations that are put upon you. But for her just saying, why can't I do that? Why can't I do this? if you're a dancer, you're just a dancer. If you're a singer, you're just a singer. If you're an actress, you're just an actress. Shattering those limitations are something that we all relate to in the industries that we've worked. You always have bigger dreams, and somehow there's always somebody in the position of power who's like, you shouldn't feel that way. Listen, I may not accomplish it, but let me at least feel and try and want that thing. Then you
don't
add
tell me no before you can see. Like, what if I can't? Okay, but give me the opportunity to see. Mm-hmm. That's just something that is just outrageous. That it's an automatic no.
Do you think? I mean, I get educated from when I talk with you when we do our great show, Difficult Podcasters. Check out the show, difficultpodcasters.com. I learn a lot from you, and I always think like, dang, working in radio as we work together, Clear Channel LA, and all the facets that turned into. I did some television production, you in PR, and all these things. Like, I am always like, God, it's so daunting to work in the industry. It's so challenging. But the only thing that I sort of, until talking to you, never necessarily realize is the woman component too, of just how you do get belittled a little bit.
Not a little bit. It's not a little bit. It's not a little bit.
And you have been sharing, actually just the tip of the iceberg, some of the stories, and it's just a whole nother layer that I think was displayed very nicely on this documentary.
And I think that's why it touched so much more and resonated so much more with me at this point in life watching it, because it reminded me just, it took me back to 2000, I think it was 4 or 5 when we did that Wango Tango at Angel Stadium way back in the day. But even then, hearing her own staffers talking shit about her in the green room, and amongst our little street team, all the shit that was going back and forth and everybody talking shit.
Yeah.
And, I was a bitch, everybody, that's what everybody called me when we were working back there. But that's also why I was in charge of the A-listers, because I didn't take any shit from anybody. And I made sure everybody was on time. I made sure everybody was at stage, and I made sure everybody was doing their job and where they were supposed to be. But I was always, I was a bitch. But I was there at 6 a.m. setting shit up, and I didn't leave till 2 a.m. when the shit was over. So I definitely feel that a little bit. But it's just so interesting that it's not a little that you feel the pressures of having to jump and say, hey, I'm not a 5-year-old. You don't do this to me. Because that's constantly what it feels like. It's like, oh, you're so, no, fuck that. I'm working hard.
I have a mind. This. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at one point I remember somebody said something to me basically oh, you look like you just graduated yesterday. And it's like, actually, tell you a little something. But it's such a horrible feeling, and I carried that for probably a lot longer than I should have, and it gave me a little automatic edge and a lot of automatic aggression when it came to always having to be defensive. And it was really hard to shed that, and to be honest with you, I don't know that I have yet.
Well, that was so interesting about this. For some reason, I know that she knows it. We know that she knows what people are saying about her, but there's a part of you, at least for me as a fan, that thinks she's like, shut up, you dummies. Like, I look at my life and look at my, my homes and my wonderful kids and my wonderful everything that I've acquired and created. But it didn't really show that in the doc. It showed that no, this stuff hurts me. Like stop doing this, stop. You don't let me take a break. And for me, the entry point, I was talking with somebody the other day about this. Why JLo? Why do you like her so much? And really, it's about the entry point of that she's not supposed to do this, but she still keeps going into these places. So whether or not you want to make it like, oh, she is the best singer, the best actor, the best dancer. And of course, in every particular genre, there may be, somebody a little bit better at all of those. But what's interesting is she's doing them all. And then she's popping up at the halftime show. I was watching one of those Hollywood Reporter, roundtable discussions with all the top tier actresses. And I don't want to say that some of the top tier actresses kind of shunned her because why is JLo sitting with us? But to a degree, as an actress, maybe why is JLo sitting with us? Even though that was the year she potentially was going to get the Hustlers nomination. She did not get that nomination. But what I found interesting is and again, I'm not saying any of those women were shunning her, but once they started talking about, but JLo, how do you do what you do? Like you're like constantly like it's no breaks. It's like this movie comes out and all the tumultuous stuff that comes with that, but then it's like a tour, world tour. And so I think there was a level of respect that each of those women had given to her because it was like she does a thing that not a lot of people do. Um, what was your thoughts on even learning and seeing how she felt emotionally by Hustlers not necessarily getting the nomination that it was sort of projected? And have you been in situations like that where there was something that was so close to guaranteed, and then how did you feel and react when it was ripped from you? And did you have the fortitude like she did to say, shit, now I got to do the halftime show? Like, and I wondered, I'm asking you as a question, did she say, I got to do the halftime show, and because I didn't get the nomination, I'm going to show you? Or is it just a job? Like, I don't actually know if she used it as motivation or what.
I mean, in my opinion, I think it was a little bit of all of it because it's partly I have to show you that it didn't mean anything, but it does.
Mm.
But I think mostly it meant something because everybody else made it mean something. And when and that kind of happens sometimes. Other people influence you. They just do, whether you want them to, whether you want to admit that they do, whatever. Sometimes they just do. And especially when it's the same people in your ear over and over and over, and it's the only people that you're ever around, they do get in your head. They do influence you and the way that you think. And it's hard to kind of get out of that sometimes. And it's happened. It's happened to me before, and it's not an easy thing, but I think that she is always so gracious and always so nice in situations where sometimes I think she shouldn't be. And listening to some of the media questions and remembering some of them. And in today's you think about it today, like listening to half of the shit that came out of Billy Bush's mouth over the years, like really, he still has a job after
I feel like
the things, after
Billy
all
Bush,
of the things.
he just finally got his name back in the limelight and
And then
sort of
this
been
comes out.
all of a sudden it's like he's like, damn, you couldn't put any other reporter, because I'm sure he wasn't the only one who, I mean,
No, and I'm sure
Jimmy
that he wasn't.
Kimmel,
And that's the sad part, is because it was all always okay. You could say whatever you wanted to a woman, and it was fine. You could make jokes about her, lack of children, or amount of children, or whatever. You make all
getting
these
married,
sexist,
being desperate, yeah.
Yes, either being single or not single. Whatever. There was always something wrong. There was always something negative to say about her relationship status, her marriage status, and her mothering status. Always. And her education. Always, always, always. And the way she dressed. And her body type. And her figure. There's always something negative to say about something. And it was always okay. And if you don't get anything else out of this documentary, get that. Because that's what she went through. Is all of those things. Like, she's a beautiful woman. And all the picking and nitpicking and depiction of that everyone gave her. Even in her family. And that happens too. Sometimes it happens right at home and you don't understand, and especially, and, I might, get some shit for this one, but especially, at least in my experience, and I can only speak for me, but in like Latin American culture families, like in my Hispanic family, like it's big, we all get shit for something. Like, it's, very, they nitpick you, when you gain a pound, when there's a mark on your face, when you don't brush your hair, when there's no makeup on, like, they're nitpicking every single thing about you.
Yeah.
And, I heard Eva Longoria on a podcast that, her family used to call her the ugly one, like the dark, ugly one. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just funny, like the stuff that you go through, you know what I mean? It's like you never know. And, some of the most endearing things that we hear as a kid in my Hispanic family is, you call a little fat girl. Like, that's what you say to, a little baby, but it's meant to be endearing. And that shit sits with you when you're young and as you grow up and whatever. And that's not always a good thing. But it's not bad until somebody makes it bad, right? So it was just crazy to hear some of those reporters asking some of those crazy questions like, how do you feel about your ass? Like, fucking really?
Yeah. It was the phenomenon that, like, once Kim Kardashian came in, if you realize the timeline, J-Lo
Mhm.
was having babies with Mark Anthony and was kind of out of the limelight for a couple of years. That's when Kim came in. So Kim Kardashian was a phenomenon, but, like, J-Lo was the original big booty. So, it's like kind of the first person who does it gets the most attention and negative attention, and oh, that's the only reason you're talented, because of that. And another thing, two things. People feel like they could treat you a certain way if you're, gorgeous and rich and famous. They start to
Mhm.
really, like, think that they could treat you almost inhumane. And another thing that was interesting was when she was on the text message and the whole family's talking about the Jets, and then one of them mentions, like, oh, J-Lo had this, she had her thing, but, like, no one cared. They only cared about their
Yeah.
damn Jets. I mean, I remember showing that to my family, and none of them thought that was funny. I was like, that was funny to me. And maybe they didn't think it was as funny as because I feel like I'm that person who's been like,
Because they all care about the Dodgers.
you guys have always liked this. Yeah, yes. And I'm over here, and and I'm like, did you hear? So the aspect of being different and amongst your own people is even a challenge. I loved how she talked about her mother, and again, a lot of it I knew from the previous rock doc that they
Mhm.
did, which was called Dance Again. I encourage you to check it out. I knew a lot of it, but still always new bits and nuggets. Just how complex the relationship was with her mom, and even that the mom sort of pushed on her tougher ways, but it was also a time within the culture and within the experience that she didn't know any other way. We're lucky sometimes, the next generation and the next generation and the next generation, that we have the leverage to be able to do these things. She said,
Yeah.
period, point blank, my mom knew that her only thing was to find a man, get married, and that's what it is. She couldn't even dream the big dream, but maybe she wanted to. But it looked good. I love to see the on the sixth moments, and rehearing that she's been kicked out of her home and just having to kind of make it. I'd actually love to hear more of the when she was 18, and then I think she got living color like around 26 years old. Well, maybe like 24, 25. But I want to hear even those earlier years, those really 18, 19,
Oh
20,
yeah.
21, because those to me are probably the ones that I'm like, what was she doing? How was she, quote unquote, surviving? And I think she'd be on a production, in London at a moment, but then, those things are only, short lived. So it went right to, living color, but I was like, I wanted actually more. Were you at all surprised how seamlessly, outside of the one time they showed his face and never
At the
said his
side of his
name,
face.
that they seamlessly cut out Alex Rodriguez?
I know. You see him for like a
Seamless.
split second at her birthday, and that's like it.
And she mentioned it generically, like, oh, they've always concentrated on, like, who I'm dating publicly, and I want to
Hmm.
kind of keep those things to myself. Must have
It's
been
true.
interesting for them as editors, her to rewatch it, because so much of that amazing halftime experience was with him.
Oh, I
You
know.
know.
I wonder, like, about him watching it. He had to have been like,
Oh
damn.
well, he has probably said damn many a times. I don't think she
Yeah.
has, but still,
No.
it's like that thing. You go back to look at a good experience, and then you're like, oh, it's changed
Yeah.
so much.
Well, they threw
You know,
Ben in there though.
and his support was really cute. I thought that was actually really wonderful. And
Mhm.
we can't really judge. I think I always say I like that she gives it a second and a third chance. People say that's desperate. Oh, she should be by herself. Why does she always have to be with the man? I don't know. You live once. Go be lost in love,
Well,
right?
and that's another thing too that
Like, why do we clown her about it?
I think, and maybe it's because like I'm such a Hallmark movie sap, but
Yes, you are.
so don't before you judge me on this, let me preface it by saying that so all the judgment come at me. But
Kelly's such a badass. You're really tough, but there's these certain moments like Disneyland she goes to and Hallmark that you get real pink and soft again. It's
I
crazy.
I I can't
Yeah,
explain it. It's
that's
just
called
there. But
range, baby.
but I watched that Marry Me movie, right? And I feel like it mimicked so much of her real life. I really wonder how cathartic it must have been for her to play that part.
Mhm.
And even the songs that on the soundtrack of that, just finding out and realizing that she doesn't need someone else to make her happy, that she just needs to be happy within herself. And I wonder how much of that actually mirrors herself. And
Yeah.
I thought that was really brave of her to play a character that way, because so many people clown on her about it. And I really have a lot of respect for her for doing it, because that's really jumping in full force and saying, I know what you guys say, but you know what? Fuck it, because I want love, and this is what I want for myself. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that. And I think that the only reason that, so many of her relationships have failed is because she is a strong, independent person, and these guys just can't keep up. Really,
relationships are hard in general. I mean,
they are hard in general,
then,
but when you have somebody that's a force within themselves and you feel inadequate, all you want to do is run off to something easier instead of putting in the work.
That's a way to say it. The way I usually say it more is like, if for the rest of us, we go through something and we sit on the sidelines, I appreciate that she keeps putting herself out there. That's the way I say it. And then again, I did tell that to a friend once, and they were like, no, I think she's like a little desperate because she always wants to be with somebody. And I look at it as like, it's the same mindset that allows somebody to say, okay, I'm playing the role of Selena, but I actually really enjoyed being up there on stage and I'd like to get my music going. And when the whole world's saying, no, you did Selena, simmer down, you can't do your own music, she like pushed forward. So the same pushed forward and trying again, if you don't succeed, try again, that she does with her career and has made this big career is the same that says, well, Alex wasn't the guy for me. And yes, it hurts, but I'm going to, keep looking at love. One thing I liked is we got to see a lot of Elaine Goldsmith-Thomas, her producing partner, and I really love the synergy that they have. So to see them on screen, to see Elaine talk about her in the way that she did was quite fantastic. And I think one of the big talking points that a lot of people are talking about is back into the vein of, is she not mean, but is she direct? There was a lot, not exposed, but profiled here between Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, and the time spent together moving on the stage for the Super Bowl. Moving forward a couple years later, of course, Dr. Dre shared the stage with a bunch of people, but that was Dr. Dre and friends, not J-Lo and friends, J-Lo featuring Shakira. What are your thoughts about what she was saying? And if I heard it correctly, being a bit frustrated that it's just take it away. Take it away.
I don't think she was wrong. I don't. I think that Shakira is a phenomenal entertainer in her own right. And I think that they were absolutely right. Like, why does every other performer get to choose? But because you have a Latina, you think you need two in order to do the job of one? That's some bullshit. Why are you doing, like, why does it have to be that way? Why couldn't it have been a choice? And if that's how you wanted to do it, give them more time. I mean, so what? What's another 5 minutes, 3 minutes, like whatever, figure it out, get another sponsor. Like, it's a football game.
Cut the third quarter.
Figure it out. Right. Cut the third quarter. Like, who cares? It's just a football game. Nobody watches the game anyway.
Cut the third quarter. I'm trying to watch the JLo concert, damn it.
Nobody watches that damn football game. Oh my God, my whole family would murder me hearing me say that. But
same.
No, but seriously, like, they could have figured out cut something from the beginning, figure it out. Figure out how to get that extra time and to give each one of them an extra 2 minutes or something. Like, there's somewhere that you could have cut a commercial, you could have cut a sponsorship, you could have done something. They could have paid for the time instead of selling it out to an extra commercial to give them the time that they needed. But they didn't, and that was bullshit. I think she was right, and I don't think it had anything to do with Shakira. I don't think that she had anything against her. I think that she was right, and it was not personal at all, and I think it was bullshit.
I think hearing her talk about all of this in rehearsals and kind of creating the show was one of the more fascinating parts of this doc, because you're hearing that, like, okay, why are they doing this to us? This is my big chance to do this show, yet I got to cut it into this many minutes. Well, we got 30 seconds of each song, but we could do a minute of one, but then we only get 4 more. Like, trying to get so much in. And if you do remember the performance, I mean, it was as if you were watching a 30-minute show. She did manage to give you so much in such a little time.
No, she really did. Yeah, she did.
As somebody who's seen her live twice, once with Mark Anthony at the Staples Center years ago, and once at her 50th birthday party at Madison Square Garden, the 50th birthday party tour. Not that I was at her birthday party, but at MSG in New York City. she it was almost as if I got all of that real, condensed. So the fact that it was a mission for her to be like, I want to get a lot in, this is my big chance to do this, but I gotta cut it. I mean, I give credit to everybody that she was working with, because each of them, even remember they showed the music director, like, how am I going to edit this together? Like, how is this going to work? So I give such credit to make it look so magnificent. And then we had, like you said a bit ago, the more emotional, poignant, you know, the way the world is going moments, such as with the her daughter and the Puerto Rican flag, stuff of this nature. I just really felt like, for all the critique of her being such a direct woman, aka a bitch, she managed to get a lot in. So the question is, maybe sometimes you're going to have to be that direct in order to get all of this in. And Shakira's performance was, of course, amazing too. So credit to them both. But
if we're being honest and we're being real, Shakira's not she's not the performer that JLo is. She just isn't. And that's not a negative.
Well, Shakira's a world, like a world renowned. You know what I mean? Like it's a different type of.
I'm not saying that as a negative. It's apples and oranges. They are different. They're different. It's complete apples and oranges. Like when you're looking at a Shakira show, it is not at all the same thing as when you're seeing a JLo show. It just isn't. So
maybe that's part of the problem. The concept of the NFL saying, "Oh, here's one Latina, here's another. Just put them together."
Absolutely.
Hearing it that way,
I think that was bullshit that they did that. But I think that they did the best that they could with what they had, and I thought that they did. An amazing job to seam those two together, because it's two very different Latin cultures coming together. And, and the whole thing about Born in the USA, when Shakira wasn't born in the, that in itself is something to think about. You can't throw two Latinas together thinking, oh, it's the same thing. That's some racist bullshit right there.
Yeah. Well, in the context of the Bruce Springsteen song also has additional context too. So the song is quite fine, but the way they mashed it up, it just put a lot of light on a lot of different things.
Right, but I just mean like the executive's not thinking that far into it.
Oh no,
because most people don't. They just think, oh, it's Spanish, it's all the same. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the problem with all of it, and it made it unfair, because no headliner has ever had to deal with that. And it just all in all was unfair. And I love Shakira. I think she's a fantastic entertainer, and she's an amazing artist. But I think that she got, they did her dirty just as much. And it sucks. Like, she didn't get her due diligence. And I thought that they did a fantastic job with what they were given. But I think that they were both kind of, given kind of the short end of the stick with that shit compared to everyone that's came before them. Really.
On a level of physicality, while some could say, oh, she's just this beautiful girl shaking her butt. Okay, whatever. There's always going to be criticism.
I want to see you hold your legs straight out on a fucking stripper pole. Shit.
The symbolism. Right. You're sitting on your couch eating bonbons, right? And you're going to tell JLo how to do JLo.
Just hold your arms out like this for 30 minutes, please. Yeah. Tell me if you can do it.
I assume the rehearsals and the inception of her portion of the show, albeit 15 minutes or whatever it was, 12 minutes, was rehearsals and all that were like, many months ago, or many months before. But I wonder, to me, it was just so interesting that, like, at what point did they say no, Hustlers is not getting the big nomination, but yet she still has essentially a stripper pole at the Super Bowl? Like, was that an FU moment to, like, I'm still going to show you? Like, where did that come in? Did that come in because it was an alignment with, like, okay, she might get nominated for Hustlers, let's kind of, showcase her on the pole again, because that's kind of been what she's been sort of promoting.
Well, because the Super Bowl's in February and so are the Oscars. So
but the nominations were maybe, I don't know when the nominations came out, but
the nominations come out like a month or two before?
Yeah, so that's my question. My question is, was there always going to be a stripper pole, or was it more like excuse me, you're not going to nominate me? Well, let me show you some shit about shit. Like, I don't know. And I don't know if JLo thinks that way, but I kind of feel like maybe, because it was, to me as a viewer, it was such a powerful moment. I'm like, damn, she didn't get her nomination. It would have been great for her to get the nomination. But look at, she's up there she's up there like dominating. She's basically playing Ramona, in that brief moment.
It really could have been that she was playing to the stands of all these like testosterone filled fans too.
Okay. I'm probably thinking too much into it.
If you take the Hollywood part out of it too, I mean, it could have been. It could have been a lot of things because she's obviously a highly intelligent person. And I think that she does very calculated stuff. So it could have been, I'm going to do it regardless of the nomination because this is a room full of men that are hitting each other and men that like to watch other men hitting each other. So, why would they not want to see me swiveling around on a stripper pole? I mean, come on.
See, I thought it was synergy with Hustlers. I thought it
totally could be. I'm saying it could be a split between it, but she also is super smart and she plays to her audience. So, she's got everybody's watching a football game. So it's everybody that wants to see all those mashups. So
yeah. And as you said, if they're already going to talk bad about her and say she's just out there shaking her ass, she's like, well, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to give you the top tier element of that. I mean, she's really done what many people have not been able to do before. And the fortitude is
50 years old.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting too. Like the concept of halftime, kind of like that 50-year-old, like, half of your life, moment. And then really, the most beautiful part is just tying it all together with her kids, having Emma even perform with her was quite a moment. And even seeing Emma blossom as a singer. I mean, obviously she's got the Mark Anthony genes as well, but on that stage, it really was special. It happened all so fast. But then when you really look back at the documentary, it's like, it was a really cool experience. And for all those little girls who are coming up and can now see, the Puerto Rican flag, even, at the Super Bowl, it's not for people like you and I, we've lived in big cities like LA and New York. So it's very like, none of this is we're very used to being inundated, but a lot of people aren't. So to be on that main stage like that was quite incredible. Any other takeaways that you had from the halftime, documentary?
I mean, I just love that no matter what has been thrown at her and all the negativity and all the horrible things that are constantly said about her. And, and I can't imagine how it must affect her daughter, honestly. Well, both of her kids, really. But in how she has to explain that stuff away and explain to them how she has to brush it off and all of that. I just admire that she stands tall and is such a strong representative for the Latina community. And it's something that I can show for my niece and, show her that you can get out there and you can do, because she's such a performer herself. And, I can't wait to show her these things and say, see, you can get out there and it doesn't matter what anybody says about you. You get out there and you do whatever you want to do. And, basically they can suck it.
The rather interesting part too is how she said, I really was thinking about giving up a couple times, I don't know if that was just a vulnerable one thing about JLo. If she's going to give you a good halftime show and a good world tour and a good album and a good movie, she's also going to give you the right sound bites. So I don't know if she just, ramped it up a little bit. You gotta
think about it. At the end of the day, she's still a woman. She's still a person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, you think, you and I have been curled up in a corner, like really depressed at points. I mean, think about with the whole world watching you. Like, I can't even imagine with all of that.
A couple other interesting points is when Ben Affleck asks her, he's saying this to in his interview, all of this that you're going through. And she said she expected this. Why did I get chills by that? Like she expected all of this, like even the bad stuff. Like it's as if she came into this world saying, if I'm going to be able to accomplish this, there's almost like this cap that I can't go higher than. And if I do shatter that, I'm going to go through some shit. So, for the Rita Moreno doing it in West Side Story, giving JLo ooh, that's what I want to do. It's kind of odd and amazing. Not odd, but it's amazing that JLo's now doing that for the next generation or several generations, because I don't think she motivates just Latino women. I think she's pretty
No, she
across
just
the board,
motivates anyone and
you know.
everyone, absolutely. But it's also says something to see someone, as she said, to see someone that looks like her up there
Mhm.
doing those things. And it's interesting because, my sister and I were talking about this the other day, because we're, like, I'm Polish and Mexican, and my sister, we have different dads, and my sister, her dad is like, he's white, but he's Dutch, and our mom is Mexican. So
Mhm.
it's like, we've obviously, I look super Mexican, right? So the way that we've grown up has been really interesting, and
Mhm.
she looks even whiter than I do, if you can even imagine that. But it's just really interesting the way that we've kind of experienced all of it. And we were having a similar conversation about it, and she's like, I've never thought about things this way or that way. And I told her, I said, it's because it never has occurred to you, because it's never mattered to you. You've never
Mm.
seen it firsthand. It's never affected you that way.
Right.
That's why. I said,
Wow.
that right. I said, and that's what you don't think about. I said, that right there is the definition of what everyone calls white privilege.
Mhm.
Right there
Mhm.
is because you don't. And I said, and you don't even realize that that's what it is, because we experience racism in very different ways,
Mhm.
because we are biracial kids, but not in that. And it's not like a straightforward way. We get it kind of backwards, where it's like they meet our mom and they're like, oh,
Mhm.
sorry we ever touched you, can I have my stuff back,
Wow.
kind of thing. Like, it's super weird. But
I think the thing with that is like what's the most important is for you to be aware and acknowledge those things. It's when you polarizingly don't even own the fact that could this be a thing? Could people are like, no, it's the same for this one and this one and this one. It's like it's really not. You know what I mean?
no,
Like I always talk openly, I'm openly gay male broadcast. I do my broadcast thing or whatever. But there was a time that I kept that really in the corner and really
yeah,
shadowed because I sometimes wonder what preconceived notions come with that and what I don't want to say discrimination, but what discriminations come with that.
no,
And
but it is, you should say that, because it is.
yeah,
It is, until we can get to a place where who you go to bed with at night doesn't like matter to anyone, because who cares?
yeah,
It doesn't affect me, so why do I care?
yeah.
I've never understood that.
The
Like, why
sheer
is it
word of it used to be such a
totally? Yeah.
worrying thing, and maybe that's where I'm connected to J Lo too, because it's like even when she did her earlier career, I do believe she was calculated in a really good way. If you notice, she did the music, which was more of a pop, slight lean to like a little bit of rap music in it as well. Like that was like the lean at the moment she was using, well, not using, oops, she was utilizing Diddy, and they were together and all that. And so no, but listen, but follow me here. Had she come out with music that was just one style, or they kept her in the Latina box at the very beginning, she just came from Selena. So if they are going to do music, she was, I think she was very aware of the how she was being visualized. And then when she went to go do movies, she noticed she never did. She did El Cantante years later, the Hector Lavoe story, but it took her years to really like do Latin movies. Not that that wasn't ever a part of her, but she made sure that you weren't going to. We're getting into some dirt here. You weren't going to regress her towards like this or that. So she started playing roles that honestly she might have had roles that she was the Italian girl for all I know. And I feel like it was a complete deliberate thing because the industry and people in general don't want to accept you for all of these things. So I
Well, and
thought,
it has to be. Yeah, no, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry,
no,
but
fine.
yeah, no, but it has to be, because there are really only like the maids,
Yeah,
like, all, think about all the Latin roles
yeah,
that it's always the maid, the housewife, the this or
yeah,
that. It's nothing of substance. It's never like a high class person. It's never a high value, high net worth.
yeah,
Very rarely, I'm not going to say never, it's very rarely that it is. It's always the wrong side of the tracks person. It's always this when you're a person of color, not just in a Latina or Hispanic nationality, but it's it's rare that you get to play a significant character. And it's just so silly,
yeah.
because our country is full of so many ethnicities, that it just, why it's always been such a stigma and such a thing, is just kind of nuts,
I
and
think
why it
that
even still is.
I think the concept of you, assuming that people don't have to navigate in these ways is where it becomes a problem. Like
Absolutely.
she legitimately had to navigate. Kelly, maybe there's parts of your life, that you have to navigate, and parts of my life that I have to navigate. But to just act like we don't, and it's all like equal and even, is crazy. For me, it is what a community, right? LGBTQIA. That means even within my own community, I realize my plight is not what I actually got it pretty good in comparison to other people within the marginalized community. So I don't want to like harp on all of this stuff and say that that's the reason people love JLo or whatever, but
Oh,
to
yeah.
to say that parts of that weren't part of her or instrumental in her navigation would be crazy. Like I think she really did steer the wheel to go where it needed to go so that wouldn't say, oh, okay, she's let's just have her go shake her butt again and be in some movie where she's the girl that's rough around the edges. No, she was like, I want to be a wedding planner. That takes some smarts, and I really sort of appreciate that. And within me and my career too, like I don't want it to be like, oh okay, Ronnie's a a gay male, let's keep him just in this box. I'm like, I kind of want to do everything.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the
So
greatest things, and I think one of the big takeaways from her as an entertainer and so many like her are that you don't have to be put into this box. And I think that's what makes her somewhat of a quote unquote problem to so many people, that it's like, stay in your lane. And it's like, why should I? Who made this lane and why do I have to live there?
yeah. Well, that
Like,
and
who
what
are you to tell me to drive there? Did you, like, did you build it?
yeah.
Like, did you make the rules? Like, what, like, it's just crazy. And I wonder, the people that actually dislike her, like, I wonder if it's that strong personality and it is that aggression and those things that are the reasons why, is that she doesn't let you run over her.
Mhm.
And if that's really the reasoning behind it, is that you can't just tell her what to do.
Yeah.
And I
Eh,
think that I admire that more so than I would. I mean, I'd probably have, we'd probably do this a lot, but I think I would have so much respect for her standing her ground than I would dislike her for it.
I
You
think
know?
whether you like her as a person or think you like her as a person, you don't know her.
Mhm.
But whether you feel how you feel, you at least respect the fortitude of the career. I
Yeah.
love from the trailer, there's this moment where she's saying, no, 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 you can't just focus on, oh, the glitz and the glamour and, is the camera going to pick me up? It's about having the step, and we're all in unison with the step. And by the way, while we're doing that, we're also going to be, aware that the camera's here. That's that type of like performance that just, it really drives me wild.
Yeah.
It's
But
it's
and
like
she says, because I can do that at the same time.
that part was magic. That part was magic to me. And if you understand it and get it, amazing. If you don't understand it and get it,
Then you don't need to be there.
you might just be the consumer, which is nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it. You just
Yeah,
don't belong there.
yeah.
That's all.
And if you are
But
the consumer,
that's what her talent is. If
yeah,
you don't understand what she's saying, that's the difference between her being talented and you not being. And that doesn't mean that is nothing negative against you. That's just where her talent comes from, and that's what talent is.
yeah.
When you don't understand something, it's because you don't bear the talent that she does.
We're
So
so
but
good.
give it to her. Let her have it.
We are so good on a podcast. It's almost as if we should have one of our own. This is a
I know.
this is of course Pop Culture POV, where we break down some hot topics a little bit more with like the evergreen commentary. This one of course is recapping JLo, but not just the documentary, but like her career in general. But if you want to hear Kelly and I, we do have a show called difficultpodcasters.com that's just it's actually in the middle of a shift, so I won't even tell you what it's about. It's just damn good. And Kelly and I have known each other as radio friends. We started in the radio industry together in 2003. So we have quite a bit to talk about, and a lot of our stories are synonymous with how we saw JLo navigating her career. And here she's the biggest star in the world, and they're like, you get half a show to share with Shakira. Like, did anyone ask her if that's okay? She should have said, screw you. But then you take the opportunity because the NFL hasn't really been that great to begin with. So what do? Do you not do it, or do you embrace it? That way you can, be a shining light on the community that it really hasn't got that opportunity.
Yeah. And I understand. And one thing I will tell everyone is that as much as I adore Ronnie to pieces, the one thing that we will forever disagree on is that I will never like JLo and Mark Anthony together.
Well, I didn't tell you Kelly was perfect.
No.
Kelly, Mark Anthony will always be her number one.
No. Absolutely
He would
not.
be your number one. If Mark Anthony was in the room with Kelly, as cool
Mark
and
Anthony
calm as
was in the room with Kelly and JLo, and I was like, oh hell no. I saw that shit.
No,
and I was
no.
like, not having it.
You want that charm, like, Kelly, you want that charm.
Run.
You want that like that.
JLo, run.
No.
Thankfully, we were mentally communicating, and she did.
Well, I guess Kelly did say it right. We will never agree on this because to me and any true JLo fan, it's always about Mark. It will always be Mark. Yeah, Mark is like, once that voice comes together and, he hits the stage, like it's, I mean, yeah, absolutely. So we agreed on a lot. We did not agree on that. It is so fun to share a podcast with you. We've been on our hiatus with our program, so this was worthwhile. I'm so shocked and think it's pretty cool that you did shed a tear watching this. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go listen to the "Marry Me" soundtrack and cry on the way home.
Yeah. It was a good movie. A lot of Marvel movies that kind of go under the radar, like second act, they have good messages too. So I'm very interested to see what else Elaine Goldsmith-Thomas and JLo do together. I love their union. And, if Elaine Goldsmith-Thomas wanted to put us in a movie, we would do it because we really love kind of where they're going directionally. But this has been Pop Culture POV. Give me what JLo song is roaming in your mind right now. After watching that, like, what are a couple songs that are like in your mind?
The only one that's coming to mind right now is the one from the movie, because I just said it, but I can't even think of the title of it, but where she's talking about that she's the love of her life, like she's her own love of her life.
Oh, I don't know the description though. If you give me more.
It's like where she's talking about that she's been, she feels like she's been looking for a relationship forever, and then she realized that she's the love of her own life.
I'll have to re-listen. The one that I'm sticking with was also, I think, kind of sprinkled in there, which was Same Girl, which that came out when she was kind of like of the vibe of like, I've been through all of these things in life, but I am the same girl who did come up in the Bronx, this, that, and the other. So I thought that's the one that kind of stays. And then the other one that this wasn't in the movie. Probably my favorite JLo music video, which is a bold sentence. I'm Glad, which was the music video from the movie. It's not from a movie, but it's a parody of, not parody, but the what is that movie? Oh my gosh, it's with that actress. I'm Glad.
Oh, that one?
You know it?
Okay, so I have quite a few favorites of hers. But I think my all-time favorite is like her first single, the If You Had My Love. That's like one of my favorites of hers. But I love her song with LL Cool J. That's like one of my all-times. And I can't think of the name of it right now. But
we're terrible. I really butchered.
I know. We're butchered. Terrible JLo fans right now.
I'm like, I'm Glad, my favorite music video. It's like with the movie.
But I know what you're talking about. I know what play like the
not parody, but yeah.
But I can't think of what it is. But it's an old movie, but I can't think of.
It's an '80s movie. It's not. It's a dancing. It's not Fame. It's where she's at the steel mill.
It's Flashdance.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, Flashdance.
People are gonna be like, they wanted to do an episode on JLo and they don't know shit about shit. Well,
fired. But the song that I was talking about, the Love of My Life song or whatever, it's from that Marry Me movie, not from the documentary.
Oh, there was some good songs there. There was the On My Way.
On My Way is a good one, but this one, I think it's called Love of My Life, maybe. I don't know, but it's.
Is it the one that she was performing in the auditorium? Because that's my favorite.
No, that's that one.
I love that one.
Cute.
Wasn't that cute?
Yeah. That one was cute. That song was cute.
Yeah.
They reminded me of like all songs like Taylor Swift would write. They were like cute.
They were different because they weren't her. They weren't JLo. They were the character.
No, they were very much like,
And you're right about that movie. We saw the window to what it was like having your $1 million mansion or whatever, and seeing the late night talk shows, make fun of. In this case, it was Kat, but J-Lo, really.
Oh yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. That had to be so parallel to her life, and like, oh.
As people, we sometimes have jealousy. We're like, well, they're rich and famous, so who cares? They could take it. But like, it's too much. Like, it's too much.
No.
Respect them all. Even the artists that aren't your favorite, respect them all. Why not?
I mean, they're still, they're still people.
Yeah.
Heartbreak sucks.
All right. Well, we have not reached our halftime moment in our lives. We are over 40, so
don't say that out loud.
We'll be there pretty soon, and I think it is interesting to kind of keep that mark 50 years old as like, what am I going on the right path? Do I need to make changes? I think 50 is a very healthy time to do that. I think the only other time you do that in life is when you turn 30. I had no qualms about turning 40. I had a lot of like hiccups about turning 30. And I feel like
I was a hot mess at 30.
Not good. Expectations. I'm supposed to be this by this time.
Like I need to apologize to my boyfriend from back then. Sorry, dude.
It got that bad. She's got resentful energy just coming out the pores. Oh my gosh. But yeah, let's think about that. Let's think about what our halftime is and what we want. How do we want to shift and change? Because you do only get one chance at this, and if you're going on the wrong path, like make that switch and get your stuff together. Find out what makes you, makes you and makes you happy and creatively. For us, it's been podcasting. Kelly and I know each other for a long time. We don't always get to get on a phone call, but we decided to do a show, and I think it's been such a good experience.
Love it.
And the last note: do not be this guy.
Don't, please.
Of course, I'm referring to Alex Rodriguez. Don't be the guy in that's you feel is in the documentary, but is edited out of the doc. Like
don't get edited out of life.
Yeah. Control your edit. All right. Pop culture POV. Kelly, any last words?
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking about this. This is so much fun. I can't wait for the next chapter of our podcast. So definitely check it out. That's Difficult Podcasters. And as always, I love supporting Ronnie and all of the amazing stuff he does. So make sure that you're checking out all of his other beautiful podcasts.
If you want to support the ones under the paywall, it's patreon.com/randomlyRonnie Jr. And I should mention that Difficult Podcasters does have our little sponsor, our little baby show, but it does still have our sponsor, which is powered by Viridian Row. So it's ViridianRow.com. A lot of creativity over there. And if you want to get this really cool, fun quote t-shirts, mostly in the vein of like movies and stuff like that, you can get a bunch from Viridian Row.
But they do song lyrics too, so you can customize and create your own. So I might have "I am the love of my life" shirt next time I come on.
Okay, I like that. So go to that site as well, ViridianRow.com, and we do encourage you, if you enjoyed our banter, just hop over to Difficult Podcasters, check it out, because we're kind of fun. We call each other on our shit, that's for sure. We are accountable, but we're fun as fuck. So it's good. It's good. I like it. I like us. Okay, for all the J-Lo lovers, that's it for today. We'll talk again. Bye, Kelly.
Bye. Thank you.